Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Gate 7 International, your number one English source for all things Olympiacos. Got a special treat for you today as a big game coming up this week, Olympiacos versus Fenerbahce in the quarterfinals of the UEFA Conference League. And I have a very special guest with us today, Rezzan, Yetis, none other, famous, well-known sports reporter in Turkey. Rezzan Yetis works for TV Sport as a presenter, has a long history in covering sports journalism, worked for Goal Turkey as well, if I remember correctly. Rezzan, thanks very much for coming on the show. And for those of you that actually have been with us for a while now, you might even remember Rezzan. We talked to Rezzan the last time we played Fenerbahce, and we also talked to you as well about Zime Butucci. I remember when he signed for Olympiacos. But again, thanks very much for coming on the show. Very glad to have you with us.
Thanks for inviting me. It's been a really, really long time since I've talked to you. It was like 2021 when Fenerbahce played Olympiacos in the Europa League. So it feels like it has been 10 years since I haven't talked to you. So it's a great pleasure to be here.
I think it's going to be very different this time. We were just talking off camera, and that was a very different situation for Fenerbahce with, I think Vitor Pereira was the coach at the time, and it was a bit of a mess in the locker room in Fenerbahce, but very different now. But before we get into the game, I think everyone wants to know what's going on right now in Turkish football. I think we all saw what happened in the cup this weekend. The Fener put the under-19 teams out, and after a minute they ate a goal and then they left the pitch. But what kind of frame of mind is the Fenerbahce team in right now heading into this game?
Well, this season Turkish football has seen a great chaos in every platform you can imagine. There were people trying to beat a referee, as long as maybe you can remember back in December 2023, a football club's president tried to beat a referee in the pitch. And also there are other examples, really bad examples in the Turkish Super League. But we are trying to overcome this harsh period, and also Fenerbahce trying to overcome this harsh period, because recently the Fenerbahce didn't play with the first team in the Super Cup on Sunday against Galatasaray, because they are trying to protest Turkish Football Federation. Fenerbahce wanted this game to be postponed to another date because of Olympiacos game, because there's a limited time between the Super Cup game and the Olympiacos game, because Fenerbahce are the only team representing Turkey in the European competitions right now. Galatasaray were eliminated in the Europa League against Sparta Prague, so Fenerbahce are the only team in the European competition. So the president of Fenerbahce, Ali Koç, he said that this is a really important time for our team, for the Turkish football, and we want this game to be postponed to another date. Actually, this game should have been played in the summer of 2023, but the federation postponed this game to January, because this game would be played in Saudi Arabia. But that game didn't happen as well like the Sunday, like what happened on Sunday, because there were other chaotic things between Saudi Football Federation and the Turkish clubs, because Fenerbahce and Galatasaray wanted to represent their teams before the match. They wanted to wear shirts with Atatürk's picture, but the Saudi Football Federation didn't allow that. So there was another chaos, and that match didn't happen. So on Sunday, Fenerbahce wanted to show something to the federation, wanted to put a message to the whole world how the federation didn't allow them, didn't want this game to be postponed. So Fenerbahce sent the under-19 team, and on the third minute, they withdrew from the pitch, and Galatasaray will get the cup. They will win 3-0 on the paper, so they will get this cup. So there are too many chaotic things happening right now, but Fenerbahce are focused on Olympiacos game. They don't care about the Super Cup, actually. So they will not be joining the Turkish Cup games in the next 2 years to protest against federation as well. So Fenerbahce are now thinking about the Olympiacos game and only the Olympiacos game as well.
Is it the match of the season? Is it too much to say that for them?
It's a really, really big game for the players as well, because Fenerbahce are now competing both in the Super League and also in the Conference League. In Turkey, many people think that Fenerbahce could be in the final of this Conference League competition. Actually, many people believe that there are two favorites in this Conference League competition this season. The first one is Aston Villa, and the second one is Fenerbahce. Before the beginning and until now, this thought hasn't changed as well. If Fenerbahce were eliminated against Olympiacos in the quarterfinals, it will be seen as a big failure. So the players are putting a really huge importance to this game. I wouldn't say that this is the number one game of the season, because Fenerbahce hasn't been champions almost a decade in the Turkish Super League. So Fenerbahce fans would put the Turkish Super League over the Conference League this season. But they would be the second team to win a European competition after Galatasaray did many years ago, because Galatasaray are the only team to win a competition in the European Cup. So Fenerbahce want to be the second one to do this as well. But I wouldn't say this is the biggest game of the season, but it's a really, really important game for Fenerbahce and the Fenerbahce players. Fenerbahce players wanted to compete in the Super Cup, even if the board wanted to protest against federation. The players wanted to play against Galatasaray, because Galatasaray is their rivals, is their bigger rivals. So, but it didn't happen. Fenerbahce players accepted this reality and they motivated themselves for the Olympiacos game. They just covered their ears, covered their eyes, what's happening between Fenerbahce and the Turkish Football Federation, and they are really, really concentrated for the Olympiacos game. I don't think they are losing concentration because of what's happening right now.
What was the reaction in Fenerbahce when Olympiacos came out the pot? Because there was a lot of talk in Greece about the reaction of Fenerbahce's technical director, Branco, the Portuguese guy, who has a history of being a technical director at PAOK as well. He did this. He kind of kissed in the air when he saw the name Olympiacos come out the pot. And that was commented on quite heavily in Greece. Are they happy with the draw? You said earlier that Fenerbahce fans would see this as a failure if they don't qualify for the semis. So how do you think they view Olympiacos?
Actually, it's not about Olympiacos. They are not going to see this as a big failure because they were eliminated against Olympiacos. Fenerbahce fans and the Turkish football fans will see this as a failure if they are eliminated in the quarterfinals. It doesn't matter who the rival is. So it's not about Olympiacos. But when Olympiacos came on the screen in the draw, I don't think people were relieved, they were happy, or they were sad. It's a 50-50 situation, because Olympiacos they are really a big club in the Greece league, and Turkey and Greece are really familiar with their culture, and Fatih Terim is now in the Greece Super League, so we are really familiar with your footballing tactics, your league. It's not like French league. It's not like Spanish league to Super League. We have really common things between the Turkish Super League and the Greece Super League. So Fenerbahce fans were actually happy because they were going to travel to Greece. It's like a 2-hour. I have never been in Greece, but I believe it takes 2 hours to get there, or maybe less. I don't know.
You can cross the border pretty quickly, but then you got to drive down. But anyway, as I understand now, there won't be any fans traveling from Turkey.
Because of the ban from the UEFA. But when they first saw Olympiacos in the screen, they were thinking about that. But in the return leg, I believe they are going to fill the stadium. But at first, they were thinking about a Greece holiday until UEFA banned them to join because of what happened in Belgium. I think it's really, really stupid, because you're really harming your own team the team that you're supporting on the pitch. So anyway, they won't be traveling to Greece. Maybe they won't be on the stadium, but I believe there will be fans to support the Fenerbahce team when they arrive to Greece. They are going to support their team on the airport, outside the stadium, because of what happened recently. Fenerbahce fans will think the players will need motivation from the fans. So I believe there will be some groups as well to traveling to Greece, just to show them that we are here for you, even if we're not in the stadium. It's going to be a really, really exciting game, but it's not going to be easy like what happened in the group stage. It's going to be really hard for them. I think the biggest advantage for Fenerbahce is that they're playing the first game away, because they will have the advantage of return in Kadıköy in front of their own fans.
Can you tell us a bit about their style of play? The coach, how long has he been there? I've lost track, I have to admit, but that's why we have you here, to tell us and inform us about all these things. So tell us a bit about the coach and a bit about Fenerbahce's style of play, what we can expect from them.
Well, last time we've talked, Fenerbahce had Vitor Pereira. Vitor Pereira and Ismail Kartal, they have really, really different approach to the game. This season, Fenerbahce played such an offensive game. In the first 15 weeks, I believe, in the Turkish Super League, Fenerbahce scored a lot of goals in the games. 4 goals, 5 nils, 2 nils. I believe the less goal difference were 2 nils in the first 15 weeks of the Turkish Super League. But then they lost their speed, because of the match traffic in the Super League, in the Conference League group stage, and also the cup games. But Fenerbahce played a really, really attacking style this season, and Fenerbahce are the first team in the Turkish Super League to score the most goals. I believe it was 83 goals in the Turkish Super League. They can break records if they became champions at the end of the season. They can break 101, I believe it was the last record. So Fenerbahce can score too many goals, and Fenerbahce have really, really talented players, really, really productive players in the attacking lines, such as Dzeko, Tadic, Szymanski, and Cengiz Ünder as well. So they don't have a problem scoring goals. As well, they don't have any problem stopping the opponents, because they have a really talented, they have a really experienced goalkeeper, Dominik Livakovic. He staged a really, really good performance in the World Cup. Maybe you can remember from the Croatia games. And then also they have too many talented players as well in the defensive line, such as Bekao, Ciku. He was like one of the strongest team members in the season for Fenerbahce. Osterwolde and Çağlar Söyüncü as well. He's a Turkish national team player, and he has the experience of Premier League as well. I can add too many players in this list. Maybe I can talk about Ferdi Kadıoğlu as well. He's also a national team member for Fenerbahce. He's left back, but he's more than a left back. Yeah, I can say that. I don't think he missed too many games this season for Fenerbahce. Fenerbahce they have a really, really good squad this season. So fans believe Fenerbahce should win the Super League, and also they have a chance to win the Conference League. It won't be a surprise for Turkish football fans to see Fenerbahce in the final of this competition. I don't know if there will be a criticism if Fenerbahce lose Conference League in the final, but as I said before, as I said earlier, it is going to be a failure. It is going to be seen as a failure if they were eliminated in the quarterfinals, and because of what happened in the Super League as well. Because Fenerbahce believed the federation needs to postpone the Super Cup game because of the Olympiacos game, and because Fenerbahce's first team didn't attend to the Super Cup, they had too many time to train for Olympiacos game, so they need to be ready. If they are eliminated, people will question the board's agreement about Super Cup. They will ask this question. Yeah. So you had too many time to train for Olympiacos game. You didn't even attend to the Super Cup. So why did you lose? They will ask these questions. So there's a really hard pressure on Fenerbahce's players' shoulders. But I believe they will get a good result against Olympiacos. Even a draw would be a good result because it's an away game.
The funny thing is we've been playing better away than at home, to be honest. But let's see, because we do need to turn around the home form.
It's the same for Fenerbahce, actually. Fenerbahce had good results in away games, but more than the home games, because Fenerbahce fans, they can lose their motivation if Fenerbahce are playing bad for 5 minutes. They are just shouting the player's name. They're just ooh. They're really putting too many criticism, too many stress on players in the home games. But in the away games, Fenerbahce players are really, they are relaxed because they don't have their fans shouting, mumming all the time. They don't see that criticism in the away games. So Fenerbahce are better in away games than the home games in this season, like just like Olympiacos.
I see some similarities, and I understand there's a lot of pressure, both on the board in terms of them not losing face for everything that's happened recently, and on the players. I mean, you obviously have a lot of players playing for Fener that are paid handsomely, as we say, and I think you described it very well. It sounds like a very strong team, from the goalkeeper all the way through to the attack. I mean, we all know Edin Dzeko, we all know Dusan Tadic, Cengiz Ünder, and Soyuncu at the back, Livakovic you mentioned. But honestly, if there was one thing you could say, like, as a weakness, like, what weakness do you see in this Fenerbahce team that Olympiacos could exploit, besides the pressure that I'm feeling on the entire club surrounding?
I think the biggest hole in Fenerbahce's squad is that Fred, because Fred has been the key player in this season for Fenerbahce. He's a really prolific guy. He can play box to box. He's strong in the midfield. He is supporting the defense, and he's also supporting the offense. When he's on the pitch, players are really confident. Especially, I can mention one guy, Szymanski, because when Fred were injured, Szymanski was the first guy losing his power, because Szymanski used to play Fred in his behind, and he was playing really
with more freedom.
How can I say? Yeah, he had more freedom on the offense. But when Fred were injured, in Fred's absence, Szymanski, he was forced to come back to get the ball, and he was really losing time and losing his energy. So I can say this is the biggest weakness in the Fenerbahce right now, because in Fred's absence, Fenerbahce were struggling both offensively and defensively, but mostly the offensively. And in Fred's absence, Fenerbahce lost critical points in the Turkish Super League. But recently, the coach Ismail Kartal found a solution with Mert Hakan Yandaş in the midfield, playing alongside İsmail Yüksek. And Fenerbahce transferred Krunic from Milan in the winter transfer window. Not too many fans were happy about this transfer, but in the last game against Adana Demirspor in the Turkish Super League, Krunic played a critical role on the midfield, even if he wasn't even if there were no Mert Hakan Yandaş alongside him. He played with Miha Zayt on the midfield. I had seen this as a weakness before the game, but when I watched the game, I was like, yeah, he's really getting used to Fenerbahce and the teammates. And Ismail Kartal really wanted this transfer. He wanted Krunic in the summer transfer window, but Fenerbahce couldn't just get the agreement done. And he's a player that Ismail Kartal puts really confidence on. So as far as I know, Fred started training. He's getting better but I don't think he can play a fully 90 minutes against Olympiacos on Thursday. Maybe Ismail Kartal won't start with him, and it can create a weakness on the midfield. But if we take the last game, Adana Demirspor, as an example, maybe they can overcome the weaknesses in Fred's absence. But I can say Fred's absence will be the biggest weakness if he doesn't start against Olympiacos on Thursday.
Okay, so Fred is the key man to look out for, besides the usual suspects that we mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Now, it's a perfect segue into one of my last questions for you, which is, what is your prediction for the lineup tomorrow? How do you think Fenerbahce is going to line up tomorrow from back to front?
I can't name all the 11 players actually, because I don't know who is ready and who is not, because there were some injuries. Maybe Alexander Cicu, I mentioned, he's one of the strongest players in the defensive line. He had a pain. I don't know what kind of pain, but he's training with the team, but I don't know what's going to happen. So I believe he can play. If he doesn't, Ismail Kartal will start with Osterwolde in the defensive line. I can say that. All I can say about the predicted lineup is that I don't think Edin Dzeko will start against Olympiacos. I believe Michy Batshuayi will start in the starting 11 because Batshuayi was really effective in the European competitions for Fenerbahce. Fenerbahce have too many alternatives in the squad, and this is both an advantage and disadvantage for Ismail Kartal because he knows who he can play in the Super League, but when it comes to European competitions, he can change. He can change too many names in the European competitions. So I believe Dzeko won't start, and Batshuayi will and should start against Olympiacos because he has this rhythm in the European competitions. You may remember his performance against Union Saint-Gilloise in the Belgium game. He was really important for Fenerbahce. So I believe Ismail Kartal will play with him. And the front line won't change too much. Tadic will play on the left. And I believe Irfan Can will play on the right. Szymanski will play behind Batshuayi. On the midfield, I'm 100% sure Ismail Yüksek will play. He was one of the injured guys recently, and I heard that he's fully recovered right now. He's going to play on the midfield. Maybe Fred will play, but if he won't play, I think Ismail Kartal will start with Krunic on midfield because in the last game he really enjoyed his performance. He also mentioned in the post-match conference, have you seen Krunic? That's what I'm talking about. He said that. So maybe he can start with Krunic and Ismail on the midfield. Ferdi will already on the starting lineup on the left. So that's all I can say about the starting lineup.
Fun fact, Edin Dzeko and Stevan Jovetic were teammates at Manchester City. And I know that when the draw happened as well, there was a bit of banter between Jovetic and Dzeko going into the game. So there are still some injury question marks in the Fener team. Fred isn't 100% certain. Cicu isn't 100% certain. We were hearing some things about Soyuncu as well, the centre back.
Yeah.
Is he fit to play? He's fit. Okay.
No. I'm not saying that. All I can say, Fred and Ismail Yüksek are fully recovered, but Fred is really fragile. So maybe Ismail Kartal will play. We will want to keep him for the second leg, and also in the Turkish Super League, he can keep him in the bench. But Çağlar, I believe he's not 100%, and I believe he won't be able to play in the starting lineup because his injury was bigger than we thought. He couldn't play in the national team's friendly games. So they are just trying to get him ready as much as possible. But I believe he won't be available in the Olympiacos game.
Okay. And a match prediction from you? You said draw earlier. You're going to stick with that?
It's not my prediction, actually. I believe it's going to be really hard for Fenerbahce to overcome Olympiacos. But we had these thoughts for Saint Gilloise as well, because Saint Gilloise, they were really, really hard opponent to overcome. But I believe a draw would make everyone happy, because they don't want to lose this game, even after, especially what happened in the Super Cup. They really will want to win this game. But a draw wouldn't make anyone sad. I believe Fenerbahce will concede a goal. I believe that. I think a 2-1 for Fenerbahce would be the result. And even if this score doesn't happen, a draw 1-1 would make everyone happy. And in the second leg, the Kadıköy game, I believe Fenerbahce can cure all the problems if they see any problems in the first leg. So a 2-1 for Fenerbahce would be my prediction.
Okay. I was going to try and avoid a match prediction, but since you were so bold, I'm going to make my own prediction and say I think this is going to be a very tasty game between the two sides. I feel like there's a lot of goals in this game. I'm going to say 3-2 Olympiacos. I think 5-goal thriller.
Wow.
I don't know how that's going to go, but 3-2 is my bold prediction to match yours. But thank you so much again for taking the time out of your busy schedule to talk to us. Do you have any questions for me?
Actually, I have one question. In this Super Cup chaos, there were some things said in the Turkish football press and also Turkish football fans. They were saying that Olympiacos already lost the Greece Super League motivation. They are all only focusing on the Conference League. Is it true? Is it true that Olympiacos are only focused on the European competition?
No. So mathematically, the league isn't over. There was a bit of a dent in our title hopes when we lost to AEK a couple of weeks ago. It was a game that we dominated away from home and should have won comfortably, and we ate a goal in stoppage time and lost 1-0. And all of a sudden, we were, I think, 6 or 7 points behind the top position, and now the gap's been reduced again. And it's generally the Greek Super League is wide open. It's a 4-horse race. The big game that we're going to be playing is against PAOK, and that will be after the 2 legs against Fenerbahce, and we play PAOK at home. So the league's not over. It's true that in the Olympiacos fan base, there is a special place, let's say, in Olympiacos fans' hearts for the Conference League this season, because the final will take place in OPAP Arena in AEK Stadium. So Olympiacos fans really like the idea of going to play in OPAP Arena in AEK Stadium and lifting a European trophy in AEK's house. So I think that the sentiment that you expressed about Olympiacos prioritizing Europe over the league is not entirely accurate. And just, it's not in the club's nature. As a club, Olympiacos will always look to win the league, and they will never say this is our priority over the other.
If you ask a Fenerbahce fan if you want to win the Turkish Super League or if you want to win the Conference League, they will always choose the Turkish Super League.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Olympiacos will say both, or at least I'll say both.
If both is not an option, they will choose the Turkish Super League. Yeah.
It's been too long. It's been too long for them, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been it's been like 10 years. Yeah.
Well, let's see. A few more days till the big game. Rezzan, Yetis, thank you so much for joining us again on the show. Make sure to hit that like button, everyone watching. Subscribe. And make sure you keep up to date with all the content coming your way from Gate 7 International. We'll be back again after the game to do our post-match as usual. Leave a comment. Let us know your match predictions for the game. 3-2. Is that crazy? Let's see. This is Gate 7 International by the fans for the fans. See you next time.